Hi and welcome back. This is pretty much the view that I had out of our Jeep windshield just before we discovered that our Demco Stay in Place Supplemental Braking System was no longer working. We were in Devil's Tower, Wyoming, which is not exactly a booming city, and we weren't really very close to any place. We did make some phone calls ahead into different places into South Dakota to see if anyone could help us, and were not able to find anyone that could fit us in. So what we decided to do was to just go forward. Derek suggested that as long as we were careful with our stopping distance and careful with our speeds and how quickly or hard we did the brakes on the motorhome, we would likely be okay, and we were. This was the first week of July, the first full week of July that this happened. It wasn't until the middle of August that we were able to get this fixed. So we're going to tell you in this video where we got it fixed, what the problem was, and how we're doing now. So let's start with how the system is supposed to work.
It's a two-part system. The Stay and Play uses the brake lights, so when I press the brakes on the motorhome, that signal is sent to my Jeep, and then it also uses a pendulum to sense how hard I'm braking. So the combination of those two signals determines when the brakes are applied on the Jeep. And the brakes are, because we have power brakes on the Jeep, the system will energize the power brakes and then push on the pedal to activate them. And that is better for the braking system than just pushing on it without the power assist. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the little box that's under the hood and the other little box that is inside the compartment where the pendulum is located. So underneath the hood, I'm going to lift it up. So inside this box, which is the Stay and Play Duo, there's a little pump which creates air pressure onto the brake system, and then that also activates the cylinder inside the compartment, which actually presses the brake. So let's take a look at that. So in the driver's seat, underneath the driver's seat on the brake pedal, they added a piston here that when the system is activated, it will depress the brake pedal, and you'll hear the pump going on when it happens. You activate the system by turning this on, and then if I pull the breakaway switch, you'll hear the pump going and see the brake pedal depressing. So I'm going to turn the camera now to the brake pedal, and I'm going to pull the breakaway switch, and you should see that brake pedal go down. You can hear it and you can see it's depressed, and that means the system is working. I put the breakaway switch back in, released it, and there you go. Here is the controller box for the supplemental braking system. It combines the signal from the motorhome brakes with the signal from the pendulum inside the box that measures how hard the motorhome is braking. The controller then presses the Jeep's brakes at the same level of pressure as the motorhome brakes. If I brake hard in the motorhome, the Jeep will brake hard. If I brake soft in the motorhome, the Jeep will brake soft. The controller needs to have a one-time calibration. We did this by getting the motorhome and the Jeep connected together and on a level area. Then I moved the knob on the controller to the bottom of its range. Peggy then held the brake in the motorhome, which presses the brake in the Jeep. I then moved the knob up until the brake pedal on the Jeep was not being depressed anymore, and then moved the knob up about 1/8 of an inch higher. And then I tightened it down. That's all that is needed for the calibration, and it's a one-time thing. We opted to get an add-on that sends a wireless signal to the motorhome anytime the brake in the Jeep is pressed. The receiver in the motorhome lights up whenever the brakes are pressed in the Jeep. It doesn't matter if the Jeep is connected to the motorhome or not. It just has to be close by. So that's a good description of how it works. But how did I figure out it wasn't working? When we were driving to Devil's Tower, I noticed that the lights didn't seem to be turning on the way I would expect them to when I applied the brakes. So when we got everything hooked up at Devil's Tower,
Ready to go. Right?
Ready to go,
Leave, yeah.
I pulled the little pin out, and that should apply the brakes, and it didn't. The system didn't turn on or anything. And so I put it back in, and we actually then looked for an RV place, and there was one not too far away.
Right.
And so we went there. They didn't know anything about the Demco system. They didn't know anything about motorhomes, in fact, because they just did trailers. But he said, you should check to see if there's a fuse that's blown. So I checked under the hood, and indeed there was a fuse, and it was blown. And so I put the new fuse in, and it still didn't work. And that's when we realized we had to find a Demco dealer.
So then I think it was at that point that you emailed our Demco guy and asked for some help.
So getting the names of service people from Demco, we found that the best overlap was in Chattanooga, where we were going to stay for a little bit. We took it into truck and trailers there and in Chattanooga. And
talked with Jim.
Yep. And Jim was assigned to work on our Jeep. And it took him a little bit of time, but he figured out exactly what the problem was. And here's Jim telling what happened.
So what we found in testing the system was the parts were all viable, good parts, but the grounding was being utilized for two different entities, and we needed to double down on that ground, make two chassis grounds, one at the front and one at the rear, so that both aren't trying to use the same ground wire.
Okay, well, thank you. Appreciate you
Yes, sir. We're
getting
happy,
that figured out.
Happy to do so.
Be able to get us going again.
Yeah,
Thanks.
back and running.
In a nutshell, there was an installation problem here because when it was installed, one ground wire was used when really two separate ground wires were needed. And because of that, it caused the failure that we experienced. It was not a problem with the product from Demco. That worked perfectly and continues to work perfectly. We really like it. Mm-hmm. It provides great braking, is easy to hook up and unhook. At the end of the day, we don't have to take any boxes in or out. It just stays and works great.
And speaking of hooking the Jeep up to the RV, a lot of people wonder what our setup is for flat towing our Jeep. So we're going to show you this video right now that shows Derek hooking it up from start to finish. My job is to put the Jeep into neutral and get everything ready on the inside, and to keep my foot on the brake so that the car doesn't roll forward and smash him. That'd be bad.
Or roll backwards so it's too far away.
Or roll backwards so it's too far away and we have to start all over again.
Yeah.
That's no fun. So that's my job.
Okay, and then you'll see me hooking up the tow bar and the safety lines and all that, and we'll show you what that does.
Take a look. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna move the Jeep up close enough to be connected up.
To connect the arms up to these two items here, These easily come out so that you don't have them sticking out all the time. And then they just slide in. And this little pin here makes sure they don't come out. Take the pin, it goes through that hole. Another pin goes through that hole. I put the locking pin cover in place. That means as soon as it's extended all the way, it won't come back. It won't be able to compress again until that's flipped out like this. So when I go to take it off, I'll flip it out again so that it can get compressed. While we're driving, we do not want it to compress. And this is the breakaway switch. So in case something on this whole mechanism fails anywhere along the way, if the Jeep becomes detached from the motorhome, this cable will pull this pin out, and you can hear the brake pedal is being pressed down right now.
It is indeed.
And that is so that the Jeep will stop if it's ever separated from the RV. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this side, 1, 2, 3 on that side. So I just make sure everything's connected and that these are in the right position.
All right, so he's doing the brakes on the left are good, and we have brakes on the right. Okay, left blinker. Left blinker. Looks good. And then right blinker. Good. All right, now we're gonna look, have him pull and go. And that's good. Driver's is good. And passenger. Good. Everything looks good. All right. And let's make sure that these are pulled out, which I'm pretty sure they are. They're uncompressed, so perfect. We are ready to go. Except the door's open.
Well, that's the story of our failed supplemental braking system on the Jeep and how we got it fixed, and also a little bit of information about how we flat tow our Jeep.
Exactly. So big thanks to Truck and Trailer USA in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and especially Jim.
They did a great job at a great price, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was only $75. They were really, I mean, it was really inexpensive.
It was superb.
We were like, really? So so them, and then also Demco. They have been so great. We've emailed them back and forth, and they're very responsive.
Yeah, we called them once as well, and it all worked out very well. We got the information we needed, and we were able to get the product properly installed now.
That's going to do it for us this time. So if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button.
Press like and ring the bell to get notified.
You bet. And until next time, restless friends, you take care.
Bye.